Hola, animigos, and welcome to Keyframers, the animated collaborative coding live stream where we bring imaginative user interfaces to life. I'm your host, Stephen Shaw, but you may know me as @Shashaw.
And I'm your host, David Khourshid, also known as @DavidKPNO.
Together, we are coding compadres, animation amigos, Boolean buddies, and keyframe companions.
Yeah, today we are doing an animation challenge from scratch, live using HTML, CSS, and an excessive amount of JavaScript, also known as React. We are
Yeah.
happy to. Yeah, but yeah, if you have any questions or any comments, please reach out in the chat or the comments, or yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Today's animation is from a challenge here. We'll get into that here. So the source animation is called Voyage Travel Website, and that's by Dimya or Dima. Sorry. And this was a challenge we got on Twitter. Let me see. Here's the source tweet. Yeah. Could you make this interaction better in the next episode of Keyframers with React? So they actually did a version of it themselves using GSAP and a bunch of other things. So it's not fully.
It actually looks really nice.
Yeah, it's a well done version of it. We'll drop that link in the chat there. I mean that's a really good version of it. It does have the little tilt bit in it. Maybe
a little bit, but it's a static tilt. So if you're on the left at all, it's going to go all the way to the left, and same thing with the right. So I'm thinking we could improve it by making that a little bit more dynamic and following the mouse, and also adding the vertical elements to it as well, because there is a bit of a vertical tilt in the original animation too, as well as a bit of parallax, which I do want to add into there because that makes for a really fun effect.
Yeah. And the challenge is with React here. We normally we just do vanilla JS or whatever, but for this one we're going into React land. So yeah, I mean that's basically it though. So should we get started on it?
Yeah, sure. Man,
all right. So the main things, implementing this in React, doing the tilt animation, and then this 3D like cover flow style setup.
Yep. So we do have to manage a bit of states, just seeing which of these charming vacation spots is active, and yeah, being able to navigate between all of them.
Yeah.
So
just the barest amount of setup here, the tiny bit of HTML, CSS, and then just importing React and React DOM, and then I'm using the Babel preprocessor so that we can have JSX in there. That's a fun fact about CodePen. If you enable Babel, you can do JSX right in there. Okay. So what I was thinking is we do like a const slides array, and this would just be all of our slides data, and we'd use that to make to iterate over or map over and get all the slides rendered that way. So the slide might contain like title, subtitle, description, and then image. Right.
Yep.
Any other data we'd need on that?
That's a good start.
Yeah.
So all of you watching, you're getting some app development, tips in here too. Someone asks in the chat, Henrique, hi there, new question. Isn't React used to develop apps? You are absolutely correct. But the question, and it's more of a, an ontological question, is what is an app? So you could actually consider this an app. I mean, it's literally a voyage. Oh, it says voyage travel website. All right. So depending on if you're using React or not already, we, like Shaw said, we usually don't start off with a framework. We usually just try to do things in vanilla CSS, HTML, and maybe even a little bit of JavaScript. But in this case, just imagine that the travel website has some things like that book now button or other pieces of interactivity where React might already be in there. So we are going to play around with this as if it already has React and we're deep into React already. But we are also going to be teaching you how to do cool interactive animations in spite of React. I don't like saying doing animations in React because React is pretty terrible at animations, I'm going to confess. But we're still going to show you how to get really performant animations with React. So right now, Shaw is adding each of the slides.
So, yeah, just doing a quick array.map to loop over those slides. Something's wrong with, oh, yeah. Take out that semicolon.
You need your squiggly, curly, squiggly, whatever. the whole mix. Go. Yeah. All right, so I am going to add a reducer. So,
oh boy.
Slides reducer. I mean, it's very simple.
Is it? Is it though?
Yeah. Yes, I will show you. So I'm just going to say if event.type equals next, then we are going to the current slide. So the state is going to have the current slide, right? So const initial state equals, we're going to have slide, and that slide is going to be slide 0. Actually, yeah, that's pretty much all we need. So if event.type equals next, and yeah, you're adding a few. So actually, we want the slide index. So slide index. Current one is going to be 0. We just say return states for slide index is that the current slide index, so state.slide index plus 1, but modulo, which is a really complicated word that all it means is remainder, slides.length. And I believe that's the right way to do it, right? Where basically if you're on the last one and you go next, you want to be at the beginning, right?
Yes, that should work. We'll find out in a moment.
I wonder if that works. No, it doesn't. All right, so we're going to have, just to test out the logic, 2 buttons, previous and next. And so each one of these, click. Oops, click.
Yeah, we don't have our use reducer actually in there yet.
Want to go ahead and stick that right in there?
Not really.
Okay, it's not hard. On state dispatch equals react.use reducer, and it takes 2 arguments: slides reducer, initial state, and you're good to go. That took like what, 30 seconds?
It felt like forever.
All right. Well, anyway, we have our logic in a nice centralized place, and honestly, this is how I recommend doing any sort of state management in React. Try not to pull in any libraries, not even my own. Just try to do things in quote-unquote vanilla React as much as possible.
Yeah, and use reducer is kind of an interesting hook, essentially. It's kind of based on the what would you call it? The Redux model. Is that right?
Yeah. Wait, which one?
Use reducer. That's kind of a Reduxy way of handling things.
Yeah, it is. But Reduxy, I mean, what does Reduxy mean? It's just like an event dispatcher pattern, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So our logic works, except it goes from 0 to -1. So we had to do something different here. We had to do math.max 0 and state.
No, hold on. I've done this before.
It's that one, I promise you.
Why did that?
Oh wait, just kidding.
No, we don't want it. We don't want it that way. I've got a.
Oh yeah, because we want it to loop and go to the next one. That makes sense.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, here we go. So this is what I've done in the past. Slides.length. Okay. All right. This is basically what we want. So you do the modulus of the length plus the length, and then do the modulus again. And that way, whether you're adding or subtracting from it, it's always going to be the proper value. So
okay.
yeah, I know it's kind of gross, but okay, state.slide index. Right. So we'll just this.
I'm just gonna do this. The easy way.
Sure, whatever.
Don't need to get fancy with math on a Monday. But anyway, so this one will loop back to 1. Or I think we need more than 2.
Yeah, I'll add another in here.
Yeah, but at least that's working, and we have our hello world with use reducer. And now Shaw has a little bit of heartburn because I used a reducer.
Mimisa rocks, not mimosa rocks. Okay.
Cool. Our logic works. Nice. And so I'm guessing we're just going to add some sort of, not a class, but like a data attribute, which worked perfectly fine in React's land.
Yeah.
Or class if you want, whatever you want.
Yeah. So the way I've done this in the past is kind of a couple of different ways. We could actually do it with a CSS variable. So we could say style equals, and then offset, something like offset. And then we'll basically do it this slide's index minus the like current slide index. So what that'd be state.slide index.
Yes.
Index minus I. So in theory, that will do it. Okay, good. You're moving that logic in there. Yes.
So all we have to do is copy that in. Where is my auto formatting? Oh wait, doesn't this have auto formatting?
It does, but that's an issue in collab mode if somebody else is on a different line and then it formats. Yeah.
Tricky. All right. That's okay. We'll save that for another day.
All right, so that should work. Okay, and let's plug in the offset here in the DOM. See that? Okay, slide index. Basically what we want. Okay, and what is our initial state? Okay, slide index.
Just the first one, right?
Yeah.
Which should work.
Math.round slides. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's there. Let me flesh it out with a couple more really quick, and then.
We should get to styling these. So let's see, we have slide. We have a class name of slide, nice and simple. If you're using CSS modules, then this will just work. So slide, how big do we want these to be? Probably like 30 VW, heights 40, or I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah.
Where'd they go?
thing is broken. Uh,
Hmm.
oh, I left off a thing. There we go. All right, so let's do
Cool.
let's do class name equals slides, and we'll use that as a wrapper. Slides display grid slide grid area 1 -1. There we go. There's our grid layering technique so that they're all overlapping. And then with slide, we can, for now, transform, translate x 100% times var offset. Need to wrap that in a calc. And that's kind of going to work. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to our data up here. Let's say 5. That's a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, we kind of need to do that.
Like show the other ones. Well,
right. So this is kind of where that modulus stuff comes more into play, because we need to basically like figure out from the center. So let me do that somehow. What are you working on at the moment?
Tilt hook.
Tilt. Okay.
Yep. Just getting that all set up, just because that's going to be a sort of complicated, but not really part. It'll be fine.
Let's do active.
Wait, there's no use raft. I have to do React or use raft.
Go. Whenever David is done, our active one should have a. Okay, yeah. Our active one has a red outline.
Cool. Can't really see that, but yep.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Order. Go. And color red just for fun. Background image. URL slide.image.
Cool. Beautiful. Man, I miss traveling. Makes me really want to travel again.
But... yeah. One day. Size cover. Center. Okay, cool. It's working. Yeah, I need to add in a few additional images, but for now, it's giving us something. that's looking pretty nice. Let's see. All right, so now
React hooks.
Gotta do that modulus actually. So say offset equal. Let's forget.
Wow. Okay. All right, I'm done typing.
Do you have anything to show yet?
No, absolutely not. It was a bunch of typing that just not yet, but I will. Pretty soon. Pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to calculate the offset properly. Because basically you want two items on the left and 2 items on the right. But that's not going to be the case unless you are in the center. So let's see, we want Did I do it?
Are you still mathing?
I am.
Oh boy, I'm mathing here too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be beautiful.
So what's that?
Get a challenge, you just have to do it. React actually makes things harder here, believe it or not. But honestly, if I were doing this as a client's project for some agency, probably would not use React. And that goes to the original point that we were making. Like, if you're making full dynamic applications, don't really need React, or you do need React. But for things like this, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Okay. I'm blanking on my math here. So if we want,
So what's happening?
I'm just trying to basically do like the current slide index is the center, and then we want 2 on the left and 2 on the right. So we want the offset kind of based on that center. So doing it just like this isn't necessarily the right approach.
So, all right, mathematically, I'll talk you through this. Take however much you want to show on the right, like let's say it's 2, and then take the index and do 2 minus that index. So if it's at index, or 2 minus that index plus 1. So if it's the third item, it would be like 2 minus 3, which is -1. Add that to 0. And then or something like that.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Not really. Could you help me real quick just so we can get past this hurdle?
Yeah, sure. So,
all right. So
the offset is not the index, right?
Right. The index is just I there, and so right now the offset is just the current slide index minus this index. So if you're on like the third item, it's perfect, but
thinking. Well, another way to think about this is you want to show a set number after and a set number
right.
before. So why not split it up? Like, get the 2 before the current one, get the 2 after the current one, and basically you're going to be putting in 3 entries here. the
Yeah.
before, the currents, and the afters. That's what I would do. All right, so James Cunningham asks, haven't used offset before, not quite following what you're doing. So by offset, we're talking about where they appear on the screen. Right now, we want 0 to represent the slide that's the current slide, the one that's front and center, positive ones to appear on the right of that current slide, and negative ones to appear on the left of that current slide. So that's what we're using offset for, but there might be another way to do this, maybe. I'm not sure.
Right. Right. This, yeah, we're just populating a CSS variable to use for the actual display of it.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just totally blanking on this math, and
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I'll think about it too. Or at least think out loud. We have a. You know what? Yeah. We will pair on this. I'll do my implementation up here. So do we have the current one? Oh, so that's just states.slide index. That's our currents, right?
Right.
That's the one that should be front and center. Okay. Makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to add a function get befores and yeah. So we're going to from index the befores, and I'm just going to hard code it to 2 for now. Or did you get it working?
Nope. Not yet. No.
All right. So whatever index we're at, well, what is the modulo thing? Because all right, so let's say that we're at index 0. We want the one before that and the one before that. So -1 in this case, but -1, how do you, so -1 modulo whatever the length is, right? Let me just quickly do that. So -1 modulo 5, what would that be? No, that doesn't work. 5 modulo -1, no. All right, so if you have -1, how do you make that represent the last one?
Okay, I need to just get out the console here. Oh, that got that. All right, so if we have,
because mathematically -1 should be
welcome to Keyframers, where we do math.
Okay. Yeah, we have.
What is it that's breaking right now? There's something that's not.
Nothing. My
Half
function
length
is
not defined.
there.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry, that was me. It's half length. Oh, all right. So starting out.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. My interview skills are coming back to me. I might have a solution that's a really stupid solution, but you're gonna love it. Ready?
No.
Okay. No, it's gonna be awesome.
Yes, I am.
Okay. You're gonna think this is the dumbest thing ever.
Oh boy.
All right. So we have 2 of the array. Yes. And
So right, this is where you do slides.length plus.
And so the array should pretty much be actually, you know what? We have 3 of the array. Okay, this is going to be so dumb. I know it's a terrible solution, but it's going to make us move forward. The offset, well, what does that represent again? You want the one in the middle to be 0. Oh, you're doing it right. So yeah, we have slide.length plus slide index. Yeah, okay, so let's try that.
This
looks fine to me. There we go. We're done.
Yeah. All right. We're just doing this to move on. We will find a better solution.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's not efficient at all. But,
I've done this. I've done this dozens of times with like slide rotator libraries, but man, this is not coming to mind for me right now. So
you got to admit this is a pretty funny, but it works solution.
Okay, so.
And I will tell you, if you remember your big O notation, O of 3n is the same as O of n. So, you know, we're still good. All right. Using CSS variables.
Yeah, I'm adding in another variable for dir. And this is just due to the limitation of CSS variables. Like in CSS, you can't do just like, is this variable positive or negative? So what I'm going to use that dir for is just for the rotation. If you're, okay, no, it is, I guess that is kind of done in that way, but we can just use this for now. So do rotate x calc like 25 degrees times var dir. And needs extra parentheses. Go. Does that actually rotate y? Okay, and we need to do 3D transforms. So on our slides container, going to do transform style for 3D and
wait, where's the slide container? We have slides.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about? Slides.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You'll be happy to know that I don't know how this worked on the first try. I really don't. But we have the px and py, which stands for percentage x and percentage y variables available right here. And I see you already tilted them. So we could do like x calc var for variable px minus 0.5. So if you have a CSS variable such as px, where you have a value from 0 to 1, and instead you want that to represent how far away you are from the center, all you have to do is subtract 0.5. So 0 will be mapped to negative 0.5, and 1 will be mapped to 0.5. And then that should actually, then you have to multiply by 2, right? No. We just keep it like that, I think. So calc 100% times var offset. Okay, do we have anything? Oh yeah, we have data active. Cool. So slide data active, that's going to have different behavior. That one we are going to transform or transform rotate x, and that we're just going to do calc x times what, 45 degrees?
Something like that.
Try that out for size. Not working.
Yeah, are you actually triggering your complex use tilt?
Yeah.
On that element?
Totally am.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Graph equals use tilt. Okay.
Yeah, so this gives us, it's basically like, here's a pre-prepared ref to a DOM node, and you just attach it to that DOM node. And so when you look at the, actually, is there anything
Okay.
overriding it?
Well, so we are kind of setting the style in React here. Is that overriding it, perhaps?
I'm finding out right now. No, we do have the PX and we do have the PY. Oh, wait. I'm
No.
doing something. Okay. I made a very rookie mistake. It said calc _x, not calc there $x, r $x. Okay, now we have stuff moving.
Do we?
Check that out. Transition none. While it's being hovered.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here.
Sure.
Yep. Hold on, let me refresh just to be sure. Okay, whoa. Tilting.
There goes. Yes, there goes all my work.
It's tilting
the wrong way.
Wrong way. Yeah, I need to rotate Y. There.
Yeah, oh, so
there
that's funny. If you're moving on the x-axis, then you have to rotate on the y-axis.
Right. So it's based on the like the basically the pole going through the element like that you want it to rotate on. So if you want it to rotate this way, you're rotating on the y-axis.
That's very silly.
Yeah,
well,
it is.
Anyway, it's also rotate on the X and get the Y for that. What's broken? Transition duration.
Yeah, that's fine. What is?
It's fine.
Invalid after duration.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything.
It's all your fault. Oh, maybe I'm missing parentheses. No?
Position.
No, the parentheses are fine.
All right, let me just...
It's really, really not liking me right now.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I need to invert that rotation. There. Nice. Look at that. Cool. All right. Well, before we go any further, please break down what you've actually done, because we did not look at the use tilt at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So just to briefly explain what's happening here, we have two things happening. So I'm doing everything in an effect, and that's because React likes to schedule its own state updates whenever it wants to, and that's not good enough for us. We need to be able to have full control of the state, so that's why I have basically in the closure this little state here where I just keep track of things. We have a ResizeObserver. All this ResizeObserver does, and this is sort of just, future-proofing it, when you resize the screen or anything, that ResizeObserver is going to kick off and be like, hey, some part of this element's changed, so we should probably call get bounding or get client, whatever it's called, get bounding clients rect again. And you just turn tilting off. Oh no, it works.
No, I just made a quick change where if it's not active, it's not doing any tracking or anything like that.
Gotcha. So essentially we're tracking two things: the bounding client's rect of the thing that we're tracking and the mouse position. So both the mouse X and the mouse Y. We track that over here in a very familiar way to what you've seen us do in previous episodes. We add an event listener, and then I'm internally setting the state for the mouse X and mouse Y. It's only used within this effect. So we're not doing anything that breaks React's rules, believe it or not. And we're just doing the side effect of setting those as properties directly on the element. So we're bypassing React. And what this means is that since we know that these updates are only going to affect the elements that we're playing with, in this case, the active slide, we don't want to do any sort of re-renders. And if we have child components, which we might very well have, and we do a state update, those are going to be re-rendered as well if we didn't do it this way. So again, we're bypassing React and we're doing things as high performance as possible. And that's what I mean by animating in spite of React. And you'll see that even if you resize the screen and everything, it's all going to work exactly the same. So that's a good thing about ResizeObserver, and ResizeObserver is really fast actually. So it's probably the most performant way to detect element changes because it's built into the browser.
Yeah, and I may have broke something here. It's actually not working for some reason. Once you change slides, see that? I've removed what I changed, but
let me see. It might be a. All right, so you have slides up. I see your issue. Okay, you need to add a key. Don't forget the keys.
Yeah, that's helpful.
And still doesn't work, but that's probably the issue.
Well, yeah.
There's another error. Cannot read property style of null. Which what?
I think that's your ref.current checks.
Well, I'm saying if it doesn't exist, then
right.
Return. So not sure what's going on there. And also when the component's unmounted, or
yeah, you need to, let's see, current, and that's helpful with hooks that deal with a reference, because the reference will have changed by the time you're out of it. That's still not.
Yeah, I cannot read properties style of null. Because handle mouse move, but I am removing that events listener. Remove event listener mouse move. I'm removing that handled mouse move. Yeah, I guess we could be defensive there. Okay, next,
yeah,
and then
that's
all right. Well, if you want me to fix that while you style, then
sure. Yeah, let's move on from that. All right, so let's look at. All right, so starters. Let's go up here. Do HTML background. Do overflow hidden for now.
Oh, I think I know what my problem was. I have in my cleanup function, I have to unobserve from the ResizeObserver, and I have to remove the event listener. I was calling it ResizeObserver.unobserver, but that's still not exactly working like I wanted to. Yeah. Whoa, why is it going?
So it still works on the first element. Like if you go to it, it's just it's not working on any of the other slides.
Yeah, I'm figuring that out. Let me see. So we have const ref equals use tilt active. I think what's happening is that active thing that you added, because it's just going to run once. And so if it wasn't active at first, it's going to be like, well, fine. You don't want me to run? I guess I'll never run for you. But wait, you're...
Well, yeah, I took that out, so it shouldn't be triggering at all.
Regardless, I think I just have it here. So let's go ahead and add it there. And so what that means is that all of them are going to get tilt treatment, which is fine because we could deal with that. Yeah, so now everything gets tilty.
Whoa.
And probably excessively so.
Oh dear.
What happened there?
Yeah. So it's like the position isn't getting updated, even though the position of the element is getting updated.
That's very weird.
Yeah, state.rect ResizeObserver is not triggering, because it's technically not resizing. It's just moving via transform.
That's weird. It's
Working
probably a
fine on
different
that one.
alert at that point. So
Yeah, this is another reason, like not activating it until it's active would be helpful.
okay, fine. Let's do that. Can you add the active back here? Let's add this active here, and then we're going to put this active right there.
Yeah, so it works on the first one, and it's working on the second one, but the rotation is very weird.
Yeah. So why, when you press previous, it like?
Yeah, that.
Oh. Yeah, it just.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Whatever. Ah, man, that's weird. Okay. I think my, oh, wait, no, ResizeObserver, so this should be the elements that we're observing. Okay, but it's just going all haywire because when we transform, I don't think it's, yeah, maybe it's not updating, so console.log updating. So let me just make sure it actually updates. So when we click previous, we just have 2 updating, but we do want some more. You know, maybe ResizeObserver isn't the best thing to use.
Yeah, I would just say getting it per mouse move would be okay.
Yeah, let's try that. See what happens. So we could just do state.rect equals l.get bounding lines rect, and now we are guaranteed to be up to date. So if we go to previous, okay, that works.
Some kind of error.
I know. All right, so yeah, let's remove. Yeah, the ResizeObserver was a bit experimental anyway, so let me just clean that up.
Okay, seems to be working.
Oh wait, we wanted this.
Still.
Okay.
Here we go.
Does that look good?
There we go. Yep.
Cool. Now the okay, fine. No touchy.
Ay. Okay.
The only downside is it's not going to work with. Yeah, that's an interesting thing about ResizeObserver. I'm not sure how well it works for transformed elements because ResizeObserver really works best with content changes because it's measuring the content box. It's not measuring the overall the border box. So
right.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. So William asks, is there an article that outlines your common approaches to animating in vanilla HTML, CSS, JS land? I think I remember reading an article that you linked, but can't seem to find it now. I don't think that there's a general article that talks about how we approach animations. Maybe, we could write one up, but all of our episodes have pretty much the same thing because they're pretty universally applicable to any animation that we do. We first split things up by states or modes or statuses or whatever you want to call it, like just specific snapshots of where things could be. For example, an accordion could be opened, opening, closed, or closing. Like those are the 4 what we call finite states of that. And then we talk about transitions. Like, okay, how can things move from one to the other? you can't go directly from open to closed. You have to go from open to closing, and then closing goes to closed. And we talk about what each of the animations are involved for that. And so lots of techniques to do that. We could either do that using CSS variables, data attributes, a combination of those, or even if we're not in CSS land, we could just model it the exact same way. So yeah, it might be good to just have an article about that.
Okay. This feels like a mess, and I think a big portion of that is the Reactness of it here. But let's see. Take a moment.
Beautiful.
Get some different images in here. I'm just going to use the assets, free design assets panel. Search for mountain. Full. Small. Here. Width. Make sure that's width. That. Let's see some more here. These are all beautiful images from Unsplash, which is a fantastic service for filling out demos like this, or just finding quality photography for your site.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let's I'll give those actual classes. They're easier to style.
Yeah, I keep looking at the HTML being like, all right, what's the structure of this? When can't exactly do that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm wrapping everything in the slide contents, and I'm going to show you why real quick. Oh, you have the slide title there?
Yeah. Slide content.
Yeah. Cool.
Actually, do display grid here. Center.
Nice and easy. All right. That works. That worked out pretty well. Not sure if you saw what I did.
I did not.
Cool. Don't worry about it. Let's see.
Translate Z. Oh, right. A little 3D transform action.
Mm-hmm. So what should be our base font size? I'm guessing it has to be based on viewport, since our slides itself are based on viewport. So I gave it a font size base of 3 3D min, so that we could do slide content. So we have slide title. We could say font size 3 rem. Let's see how that looks. It's going to be huge, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Maybe 2 rem. I dig it though.
Still too big. It's cool. So yeah, since we're doing those 3D transforms that translate Z3 rem, really helps that text pop.
Yeah, it's just that easy. And we could say like font weight, normal, letter spacing, just 0.5 characters. Whoa, too big. So 0.1 characters. And I'm using character because we don't really want to use pixels here. And nice text transform uppercase. And probably bump this up to 0.2. See, this is my favorite part when we have the animations in and we just style things. So let's see. Get rid of this this red over here. Let your dreams come true. Are you using background image for these or?
Yes. So there's
Sorry.
a background image applied, and so that's something we can go into in a moment.
Yeah. Oh.
What is?
So let's not repeat the backgrounds. There we go.
Okay. I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then so,
Right.
what does it have with if it's actually active? Is there a data active?
Yeah, that's down at the bottom.
Data active?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So this is one thing we can cover really quick. So in the actual animation, whenever you're switching slides, the whole page kind of changes backgrounds, and so we can do that with some pseudo elements, or with a pseudo element. And before, position fixed, up 0, left 0, 0, and then background inherit. And doing anything? Oh, we've got to add a content to get it to display. And then, where is it, David?
What did I do?
That's it.
What happened?
Okay. Okay, let's just say background red. See if that's doing anything. Oh, okay. So the before element is getting locked in. Okay, so slide content.
All right, so which part are you doing with the before again? Is that the background?
Yeah, so we're gonna.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's trippy.
Yeah, we don't want that. We want.
All right, so yeah, we had to get rid of that. If you want to do that, okay, so you're rotating the before.
Yeah. Then we need to apply that here. Don't know that that's gonna.
I mean, that's a really cool effect, but not sure that that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's.
We're getting some clipping going on. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move that out here. All right. It's fine.
You could also literally put the CSS variables in background position, although you're going to cry because it's not the most performance option.
Yeah. That I think we'll need to in a different way. Yeah, we're coming up on time. So need to. Okay. Always do, okay, so if if content, that gets so messy.
So first child, but it's going to be no. Since percent dot percent. Cool. And then this should probably change to carrots. So that's super glitchy. That's super cool.
Yeah. This and here. Aye. Are you changing a bunch of stuff?
I'm not. I'm changing nothing. I wish there were built-in carrots, but there are not.
Carrots.
That's all right. Those look nice. See those. They're not nearly big enough, but I can do. So, size like 3 something crazy like that.
Okay. Got it. At least back where we wanted to be. Yeah. Okay, got our hover back in place. Great. Right now. Slide background. All right. Position fixed. 0, left 0. Bottom 0. Background.
Still getting some weird clicking over here.
Yeah. I think it's do content.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Yeah, so I think it's the perspective happening. Move that. There we go. Okay.
I just see mountains now.
Cover background. enter index 1.
So William asks, how do you guys approach testing that your animations are accessible to screen readers and other ATs? AT standing for accessibility tools. That's a good question. I mean, personally, we don't, because we're trying to do this as quickly as possible. But with regard to animation, just realize that animation is what is known as a progressive enhancement. So your website or application or whatever you have should function exactly the same, regardless of if there's animation or not. So, the same thing could be taken to more of an extreme with JavaScript. For example, let's say you have a newspaper online. It should work completely the same, like someone should be able to read the article, whether or not they have JavaScript enabled. And in fact, there's a fun way to get rid of paywalls is just by disabling JavaScript on your favorite news site that constantly bugs you. So, yeah, what we always do is we start with the structure first. So we start with how we lay out the HTML. And so when you're doing that, you should be able to consider accessibility first, just making sure you have, things tabbable, things labeled correctly. You're using semantic elements. You're not doing anything that violates any accessibility principles. And that should be your baseline before you add any animation. And the animation should be sort of the cherry on top. So that even if animation was completely disabled, which you should do by having some sort of a prefers reduced motion media query, regardless of if there's animation or not, it should just work the exact same way. So. What happened?
Just fixing things.
Okay. But I mean, with the tilty thing.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
All right, not worrying about
it. Okay.
Because it sort of tilts, but only at very specific parts of the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's strange.
Is there do you have a pointer events thing or something that's causing that?
Well, so it's like the buttons themselves. How are you doing those buttons?
Just the normal way you do buttons. Are you adding here?
Let me see. So I did. Yeah, hold on. So
that's why it's not really tilting too much.
What's not? Okay, the slide container is correct. I've got that.
Yeah, it's really weird.
That's none. Here. Let's see.
Yeah, there's something preventing the
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so what, let's see, are those CSS variables updating?
They should be. So
it does not, okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like they're updating.
Sure.
Yeah, they're not. they're not triggering, right? So something is
because it might be a pointer events not thing. So, yeah, might be because of that slide background.
sure display none.
So yeah, let's
Just
see what
take
happens.
that out of the equation and see. No.
Okay, and yeah, something went awry with the focus or the tilt stuff. Not sure what happened there.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
it works if you like hover at the very edge
yeah,
on one of the letters. Just a little bit weird.
that is only get it to trigger on the right side for me.
Yeah, because nothing I did change anything there. I'm trying to see what else could have happened. Let's see if we get rid of the backgrounds. See what happens. Well, then you don't see anything. Wow. Figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I've got display none on that.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
now,
what
so.
happened? Pointer events aren't working.
Oh, you know, I know what it is. So slide content data active needs to be a higher Z index. There we go. That's it. Because all the slides right now are overlapping because what is being translated is the slide content. So let's see.
So now we could undisplay none.
Back in.
Watch everything break again.
Yes, that is it.
Cool, except I can't go left.
Yeah, you just need to elevate your buttons. Where are these?
All right.
Why do you style like that? Ugh.
What? Style like what? Oh, with my position absolute.
Well, no, with your
stuff.
Weird targeting. All right. Okay.
Cool. So now we could remove the red outline, which is like taking the peeling off of a brand new electronic device.
That's pretty nice there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got kind of the basics in place there. We definitely need a better approach to that.
What?
To the let's see.
To what? Say it to my face.
A better approach to the way that we're handling the slides and the looping in our setup down here, because that is a bit gross. Yeah. What did you do?
I messed things up. Hold on. Okay. Cool. So basically, as they become inactive, the contents just sort of slide up. So I added a super quick effect for that, as you could see.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. It's a little silly. It works though.
Yeah. And, you know, technically the background is translated a little bit too, which is actually easy enough to add. So transforms, 0.3 seconds, C's in, out. And then transform, translate x percent times var. So that cascades down, and then a transform none background, and now that should not, well, sure. Not working. Oh, you gotta wrap things in a calc, I guess, to do calculations, huh? Yeah, there we go.
Well, the concept. Oh.
Yeah, not the best, but let's see. Left negative 5%.
Uh-oh, where's the, did you get rid of the Z index? Or not the Z, the transform Z?
I did
or
not.
Was that?
Yeah, I didn't touch anything related to that. Slide content. Inner is still translated. You did this.
For that should be only for the like the title, the subtitle. Yeah.
Well, stop with your carrots. That's not even the right place to put it.
Yes.
Down here. Good.
Yeah, basically when it's active, I wanted to
yeah.
which I'm doing at line 71 or so.
Form none. Okay.
Cool. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, still some weird indexy things happening, but
yeah, what happened to my translate Z?
It's right here.
Oh, but I'm overriding it because I'm not very clever. Okay. So where did you add the aha, right here.
No, that's not what we want, David. That's not it. So
You're transforming perspective. Why?
Nothing. Good question. All right, we'll need to reach a stopping point here.
All right, no worries. In fact, we could probably just, yeah, because I really like that that translate Z sort of stuff right there. So I can just get rid of this for now, and hopefully we should have it back. Almost. What's hiding it? Opacity 0. That, oh wait, we want that. Cool.
All right. Okay, hold on.
All right.
Hold on.
Let's see. This is
don't change anything. Don't change anything.
Okay. Okay.
Line content inner. Oh boy. 0. Okay. We're back in business, David.
All right.
Don't touch anything.
No touchy. All right. I think we're pretty good.
Yeah. All right. All right. So if you're watching live or watching this full video, we're kind of going to go into some summaries of the techniques here, and we'll do this all live. What do you think is worth covering here, David?
Oh, definitely not the offset part.
Yeah.
We'll just assume that sort of works. Or actually, yeah, we could talk about the offset in terms of just setting those CSS variables once, like, assuming we have the correct offset, setting those variables and applying the correct transforms to them. And then we could talk about the tilt effect.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's, yeah, should be good.
Sorry, say those things again.
That would be the
User
offset
offset. Well, let's
and
do
the
the use
tilt.
reducer. Right? Is that worth covering?
Yeah.
Okay. Use reducer. And then offset. Man, but both of those are should really be we really need to fix the math first before we do
Well,
that.
I'm just assuming, like, let's say that you have the correct offset somehow,
Yeah.
and just applying those to CSS variables.
Okay. Hold on just one moment. Let me look at splitting math really quick. Then splitting JS, I've got CSS for calculating the center, the offset, the X center. So we want the center to be the current slide index. And then let's just try that real quick. So let's say center state slide index, and offset is, but it needs to loop around. So we'll do enter minus I round slides dot length before say index minus I to save that. This will do slides. That out for now. Right. Set to I got there. Take that out. All right. That. Sorry. This shouldn't take long. Famous last words. Offset 0. Okay. That. I. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get the math on air. So let's just proceed.
Oh, well.
Yep. Sorry to disappoint all you math fans out there. I know you are all on the edge of your seat, wondering
I was.
if we'll get the math right. Okay. Let me just undo a bunch of stuff.
We should have seen how Security did it in their code then, but yeah.
Sure. Okay. Go. I get everything back in place. Okay. All right. So we'll look at the use reducer really quick. I'll let you break that down. Then the offset, just as like a variable concept, and then the tilt. Cover that.
Yep.
And we'll we'll leave it there. So if you can cover the use reducer, I'll do the offset, and then we'll do the tilt. We'll go and do the intro really quick. In the script, I did that's a little dated. So if you want to read from that, okay. All right. Whenever you're ready.
Yep.
Okay. Hold on. Let me trigger the animation a little bit. Hola, amigos, and welcome to Keyframers. I'm your host, Stephen Shaw, but you may know me as @Shashaw.
And I'm your host, David Khourshid, also known as @DavidKPiano.
Right now, we'll be giving a quick overview of the techniques used to build this awesome animation. Our show is supported by our sponsors, CodePen at codepin.io, CSS Tricks at css-tricks.com, and viewers like you. You can pledge at patreon.com/keyframers to support us, and links are available below.
Yeah, and hey, you can also watch the full process of creating this animation from scratch after this with a lot more details about each of the techniques that we cover, so stay tuned. If you have any questions, ask us in the chat or leave a comment below, and we'll be happy to answer.
Yes. All right. So a lot went into this fun 3D cover flow in React animation that we were challenged to do. But the first thing that's kind of powering it is a reducer to get our kind of slide changing working. Why don't you break that down?
Sure. The reducer is pretty straightforward. The reducer is one of those core React hooks that you should know if you are working with state management in React. In this case, we have two events that we handle, or React calls them actions, whatever, same thing. We have a next, which you could imagine if you press the next button or you press the right arrow key, if you want to add that feature, that would be the next event. And then we have a previous event. So then we do a little bit of math here. Basically, we're incrementing the slide index by 1. But if we're going over the slide stop length, we want to make sure that it cycles back to 0. And so that's what this modulo operator does, where basically if we're at index 5 and the total length is 5 and we add 1, that becomes 6. Modulo 5 becomes 1. So it sort of loops back, or sorry, 4. And we go to 5 then. Anyway, it goes from the last one to the first one. It just sort of loops around. A little bit simpler logic over here. If we're already at the 0 index, then we just loop back to the very last element, which is slide stop length minus 1. Otherwise, we just subtract 1. So if we're on the third slide, then we'll go to the second. If we're on the second, we go to the first, and so on. And so this slide reducer, we have an initial state of that slide index, and we're saying that we're starting at the very first element, and we put them in our components right over here. It's React.use reducer. You pass in the reducer, the initial state, and you get a tuple of two things: the state, which represents current state of the reducer, and dispatch for sending those events to the reducer in order to get an updated state. And then we could use those in our application. You see we have buttons which are dispatching those events that the reducer expects, and we are using the state.slide index right over here.
Yes, and we should note that we are having some trouble with the math overall for this, so that's why we have the triple slides there, and the directions are a little off. So whenever you look at this final code demo, the link in the description down below, hopefully it's a little better. We're really blanking on this math off the top of our heads, but yeah, there's a cool way to use reducer. To kind of help you calculate the position of the next and previous slides. If you want to see more of how we built this, check out the full live video. It's got our entire process there and a lot of painstaking math attempts, so definitely check that out. All right, cool. All right, and now break down the offset. Let me get set up for that. All right, let's talk about offset. So one of the things we're doing here in our our slide array. We're mapping through all the slides and then giving each slide the slide data and also an offset variable. And so this is the current slide index minus whatever this slide's index is. So if it's before this current slide, it'll be -1, -2, and so on. If it's after, it'll be 1 and 2, and going down the line there. So we send that into our slide component, and the slide component applies that as a CSS variable. And it's also using it to track if this is currently the active slide or not. So if it's 0, there's no offset. This is the center one. This is the currently active one. So we pass those through here. And then in our CSS, we can use that in a few different ways. So the slide content here is what we're actually translating off to the side and giving these 3D transforms to. So we've got that happening right here. There's a perspective applied here rather than globally because we're doing a background separately. You'll see more on that in a moment. And then we're using translate X using that offset. So if it's negative, it's going to be off to the side here, and if it's positive, it's going off in the other direction. And then we also have another CSS variable in play here, this dir. Basically just setting the a negative or a positive variable based on if the offset is negative or positive. We just want 1 as that value rather than like -5 or something like that, so that we can just do a little bit of a rotation without having to do a rather extreme version of that. And then that data active state, we've got that down here to basically remove the transform from it so that it's flat, and then we apply that tilt deal to it. But that's a separate thing we'll cover. And we can also fade in the content and all that using that data active attribute. So this is a cool way that you can kind of use data from React, what the current active slide is and what the offset of these other slides are, to use in your styles to actually make the application work the way you want. Yeah. So anyway, if you want to see more about this whole process and how we set up the background and everything else in there, check out the full live video. You'll enjoy all of our fun math problems, and yeah, check it out. All right, David, why don't you cover the tilt?
All right, so the tilt. We want this to be as simple as possible to add the tilt. And so in order to do that, we didn't want to have to manage state within React because React schedules state updates on its own. So instead, we have a custom use tilt hook. And so this use tilt hook returns a ref, and that ref is assumed to be placed right in your in the div, just so that we could directly manipulate that div, set CSS variables, and do all of that. So let's go over what this use tilt hook is doing. First of all, it accepts active, and that's because we only want to be keeping track of mouse positions in the slide in question if it is actually the active slide. And so that's what this conditional here is doing. It's checking, first of all, if the ref exists, like did we actually place the ref on a DOM node, and is it active? If so, track the mouse position. If not, then just return. And of course, if it becomes active at a later time, then this effect is going to run again, and we are going to be able to actually track the mouse. So we have internal state over here, and that's just because we are tracking things in order to place them on the elements. In fact, it's not exactly necessary, but we just have it there. Don't worry about it. So we have an events listener for the mouse move, and that's keeping track of the mouse position relative to the actual bounding client's rect of the elements. And so we're capturing the mouse X and the mouse Y in order to get the position of the mouse X in terms of the left and right bounds of the rect. We subtract it from the left. So we're saying, for example, let's say the mouse is at 50 and the left is at 20 and the width is a total of 80, then we want to say that the mouse is at 50% because it's between 20 and 80 exactly in the middle. And so we want to represent that as a number between 0 and 1, which is what this px is. And so that's what this math expression evaluates to. We do the same for y using top and height instead of left and width. And so again, to summarize, we're just getting the mouse position relative to the width and the height of the element. We set those as CSS custom properties, also known as CSS variables, to px and py directly on the elements. And then we add that event handler right on the elements on mouse movement. In fact, we could change this to L.
Yeah, and we do that tracking there because the ref can change in the React lifecycle. So by changing it there, we're able to unmount it as.
Yeah, so we take those CSS variables and let's jump into CSS land here a little bit. On line 152, right now we're getting a value between 0 and 1. However, when we're dealing with tilt, we want it to tilt either to the left or to the right, and we want to be based on the center. We don't want it to be based on the left or the right, so we have to do a little bit more math. So since we get a number between 0 and 1 for px, we subtract 0.5, and so now that's going to give us a number between negative 0.5 and positive 0.5, and that's exactly what we want here. So we have that for the $x variable and the $y variable. We apply those to rotate y and rotate x, and so we're getting a fraction of that 45-degree max tilt for both x and y. And you could change those values and see how it's affected. But if essentially we are multiplying that value between 0.5 and 5 to 45 degrees. And so just in your head, make sure to divide this by 2, and you're going to get the maximum range. So what is that, 22.5? Anyway, so that's how that math sort of works out there. Again, tweak those values as you want. If you want a more dramatic effect or a more subtle effect, yeah, that's how you get that animation. And of course, this animation is only active when we have that data active attribute right over here. So it's not going to apply to anything that's not active. And also only when it's hovered.
Right, and we get that 3D effect on the text because we're just transforming that content forward on the z-axis up here, so that inner content is actually closer to the user. So you get that nice depth effect when you're rotating around the center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, that's kind of a short overview of the use tilt and how we implemented that. If you'd like to see more, go back and check out the full live video where we break down this entire process and go into more detail on everything. So check that out. Like and subscribe. Do all that great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. That's basically all we have for y'all today. One of these days we'll figure out that math and maybe share something on that. But yeah, great work, David. Thank you everyone.
Too as well.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Adios.